critical vulnerability exists not in theory or implementation, but in transition between domains. The demonstration presenting refined security protocols, the practical application of theoretical concepts discussed earlier. This transitional space between concept and implementation, representing both maximum innovation and maximum vulnerability. Defensive and offensive capabilities exist in eternal coevolution. The demonstration revealing sophisticated countermeasures developed specifically for attack vectors identified during Singapore intervention. The security architecture evolving in direct response to observed exploitation methodology. The predator-prey dynamic manifesting in technological domain. The most dangerous adversaries understand that perfect security exists only in theoretical domain. Implementation necessarily involves compromise, processing limitations, legacy compatibility, regulatory compliance, creating constraints that theory doesn't acknowledge. These practical boundaries creating exploitation space unavailable in conceptual framework, but inevitable in applied reality. While visible interaction occurred in conference spaces above, the critical engagement unfolded in infrastructure beneath. The physical architecture supporting digital operations, representing both foundation and vulnerability. Ibrahim's academic expertise, providing legitimate access to implementation specialists. The human infrastructure as critical as technical components. Defense requires anticipation rather than mere reaction. The enhanced monitoring focusing specifically on pathways where Chimera's testing patterns had been identified. Not waiting for exploitation, but establishing surveillance at likely entry points. The defensive methodology evolved through lessons from Singapore, anticipating rather than responding to threat manifestation. The most sophisticated confrontations begin invisibly. The initial digital engagement manifesting as subtle probing operations, testing response times, identifying defensive adaptations, gauging resistances before committing main thrust. The security response equally measured, not blocking access, but tracking movement, building comprehensive picture of operational architecture before intervention. The most significant operations unfold beneath social camouflage. The elite reception providing perfect cover for final operational preparation. Key personnel in proximity. Access established through legitimate presence. Information flowing freely in presumed secure environment. The perfect convergence of opportunity and capability. The most effective predators don't hide their presence. They disguise their intention. Katerina's engagement with regulatory officials appearing as legitimate professional exchange while serving specific intelligence objective. The social environment creating presumption of shared purpose that facilitated information flow unavailable through technical means. The coordination across domains revealed operational maturity. Physical networking and digital reconnaissance operating in parallel. Human and technical vectors converging towards single objective. The sophistication suggesting not merely adaptation following Singapore, but evolution beyond previous methodology. Chimera not simply recovering from intervention, but advancing to next developmental stage. Timing represents critical operational variable. The intervention initiated at precise moment between Chimera's reconnaissance and main deployment. The vulnerable transition point, where capability is positioned, but not yet fully engaged. The lesson from Singapore applied through evolutionary adaptation, not waiting for attack manifestation, but intercepting during preparation phase. The predator's evolution following Singapore exposure, clearly visible in operational architecture. No longer centralized command structure, but distributed coordination across multiple system access points. No single point of failure, no critical vulnerability. The fundamental adaptation from hierarchical to network structure, potentially less efficient, but significantly more resilient. The most effective response isn't mere prevention, but controlled engagement. The intervention creating digital equivalent of controlled burn, allowing apparent access while actually channeling operation into prepared environment. Not simply blocking Chimera, but using its own momentum to reveal full operational architecture and objective. Dawn from Victoria Peak. The transformation from dark to light, revealing Hong Kong's remarkable vertical density, achievement, and vulnerability compressed into limited space. The financial systems continuing without visible disruption. The night's operation successful in tactical terms, yet incomplete in strategic resolution. The familiar pattern continuing. The evolutionary pattern revealed through successive encounters. Istanbul represented revolutionary disruption, systemic challenge, forcing fundamental reform. Singapore represented parasitic extraction, targeted exploitation of specific vulnerabilities. Hong Kong revealed the next evolutionary stage, persistent embedded presence, not stealing from the system or challenging its foundation, but becoming part of its ongoing operation. The most concerning evolution wasn't technical, but strategic. Chimera's methodology revealed through Hong Kong operation suggested fundamental shift from exploitation to infiltration, not attacking the system from outside, but becoming essential component from within. The digital equivalent of symbiotic relationship rather than predatory attack, potentially more sustainable and significantly harder to eliminate. The cycle continuing, but with evolutionary differences. Each intervention creating pressure, driving further adaptation. Hong Kong representing not conclusion, but catalyst. Chimera accelerating development in response to partial exposure. The next iteration already in progress, incorporating lessons from both success and limitation. Evolution continuing through eternal interaction between security and exploitation. What began with the Istanbul Code continued its transformation through Zurich, Tokyo, Singapore, and now Hong Kong. Not singular crisis, but continuous evolution. Threat and response, exploitation and security, perpetually adapting to each other's development. The digital horizon extending beyond visible landscape. Unseen architecture underlying visible reality. The next iteration already forming in the spaces between systems. Visible only to those who understood that every ending merely became the foundation for what emerged next.